Anyway, so they start the show on night one of WrestleMania with what allegedly should have been the main event, because it was promoted as the main event, because it was promoted as the one of the world champion match for one of the world championships. And we get Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley straight off the bat. I like both these guys. As we've talked about, I think that Lashley looks better than he ever has. He's kept his body, his conditioning, but he's gotten more experience, so his work is better. You know, as a matter of fact, since he was an old OVW guy, I will throw in a bit of coaching if he happens to be listening. Probably not. But Bobby, when the guy's got the fucking headlock on you, step into your shoot off more and throw the guy off, especially guys big as Drew McIntyre. But they had McIntyre I've been a fan of, except I can't figure out why they keep giving him the title and then beating him for the title. When last year, they were supposed to, he was the guy that was going to conquer Brock Lesnar and be the new guy, and he's been beat, half a dozen times since then. Anyway, they had a good pace at the start, and they were going for a big man match. I'm not crazy about anybody going to the floor so early, but that's a minor offense in these days. I like the way that Bobby got heat on McIntyre and roughed him up. And then I like the way they did this hope spot. Remember when Lashley charged and McIntyre moved and Lashley went shoulder into the post and McIntyre went for the arm bar, but he couldn't quite get it and Lashley rolled through and got back on him. That was a well-done hope spot because somebody else, when Lashley hit the post, some other babyface or whoever produced this match, if it was some other producer, if McIntyre had turned around and pickled him, boom, 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 hit him a time or two or gave him a bump or done something else and then gone for the arm bar, it would have broken up the heat because it would be making at least a false comeback. And the people would have said, okay, now Drew's back on offense, and if you stop him down again, well, but this way it was seamless. When Lashley hit the buckle, McIntyre goes for the arm bar out of the cell, but can't get it before Lashley, still the fresher guy, gets back on top of him. It's a hope spot that McIntyre almost had him, but they took it away. And immediately Michael Cole says he gets him with the pound and ground. Did you hear that?
Yeah, he's made that mistake many times in the past. He sucks.
How could you make that
Michael
mistake
Cole
more
sucks.
than once? But how can you make that mistake more than once?
Because he's not very good. He's not there because of his skills.
You think nobody's told him? And made fun of it before if he's done it before?
I'm sure they have. He can't get it.
The pound and ground sounds like a fucking burger place that does kids' parties. Anyway, so finally, McIntyre makes it, well, not finally, but McIntyre makes a comeback then. He bumped Lashley a couple of times, did the big nip up. The people were with him. There were a few awkward spots in here, but it wasn't Flair and Steamboat for fluidity, but it was physical. It was two guys keeping it interesting and being physical. The camera cutting constantly was hurting my head and giving me an eye ache. I mean, so just bad. Like
it's the worst thing about.
I don't even know how you can. Ready 4, take 4. Ready 6, take 6. Ready 8, take 8. How can you say those words as quickly as that camera is fucking? Anyway, there was the spot that Lashley blocked a superplex and hung McIntyre upside down, but McIntyre reached up and pitched Lashley off, and then a big choke slam, and Lashley milked it. McIntyre nipped up again. They had good action. They had a rotten 1-2 exchange. They're some of the many guys these days that can't get in the fucking gear to throw punches, especially on a 1-2. But then McIntyre, big comeback, 3 DDTs, and in a row, like the Three Amigos, with the last one being a 1-2, just almost. That was a good false finish. why would Drew McIntyre? I couldn't figure out the dive. Because Drew McIntyre doesn't need to do a dive. God damn it. We just said this about Tommaso Ciampa. He didn't do a moonsault on Walter just because Walter's big enough to catch him, because Tommaso Ciampa wouldn't do a fucking moonsault. Why would a guy 6'5" and 265 pounds dive out of the ring and at being used at the top level in the WWE and the money that goes with it, dive out of the ring and risk fucking hospitalizing himself, especially when he went right between MVP and Lashley, who just bent over and broke none of his fall. He just, in effect, took a giant phantom backdrop, McIntyre did, over the top rope, flat of his back to the floor. I could not figure that one out. And did it look like anybody tried to catch him, or they just bent over and hoped for the best for themselves?
I don't know. There's been a lot of dives lately that I just saw one the other day from NXT where Shotzi Blackheart did a dive on two people. It went right over them, right past them. They couldn't catch her. There was no way to catch her.
Well, yeah, but this one was, he went right in between both of them. Right in between. Like, one looked left and one looked right, and it's like, well, there he is down there. Anyway, then Lashley going for the hurt lock, but McIntyre broke it. Gets the Kimura. Lashley makes the ropes. Nice rope break. At that point, I wrote, this is starting to need to go home. And that's where they did. Little did I know I wouldn't want to see the finish, though. There was a bit of an awkward exchange and then MVP distracted McIntyre, but here's the thing, he just yelled. You're in a stadium of 25,000 people yelling. The manager at ringside is yelling constantly. I can see if he was starting for the Claymore and MVP had jumped up in a neutral corner of the ring to his eyesight, McIntyre's eyesight to the right, to where he would take his eye off it while he was running and then put his eye back too late. But why would you take a step into your finish and stop because the guy standing on the floor yelled at you? It could have been polished a little bit. But he missed the Claymore kick. But when Lashley dropped down, and then Lashley gets the hurt lock, McIntyre kicks off the buckle. Lashley won't let go. And then he just passed out. The finish of the world title match. And I know a lot of people out there say, well, as old school as Cornette is, I'm old school, not boring school. The finish for a WrestleMania World Championship match was a fucking full Nelson. And I understand that somebody has said and has probably sold Vince on, maybe it was Vince's idea, that a guy looks like Lashley, the full Nelson, danger. Yes, I get that. It's as old as time. And I understand, and there's a way to get the full Nelson over. But there's also, you've got to recognize, especially when they knew that they were going to send the people home unhappy in the world title match the second night. So they're sending them home not only unhappy, but bored in this finish. A finish at a match this big needs some kind of bump or some kind of something or just something. And the full Nelson, if they'd have examined this thing since the start when they brought Lashley in, if they were going to establish him with the full Nelson, they had to know that, but that's going to make for boring finishes in some cases, whether they be fucks or whatever, because the full Nelson is impressive when Lashley gets it on somebody. He's shaking the guy, and the guy's fucking head and his arms are flailing, and some snot's coming out of his nose and dribble out of his mouth, and his eyes are rolling back. That's and Lashley can have the mean faces. That's impressive, but it's also, there's no movement, especially in a big arena. There's no movement in the ring. There's no bump to it. There's no motion. So at some point, you're going to run into a situation where you don't want him just clamp the fucking thing on a guy and just have him slowly wither until he passes out. If he'd come in starting using the full Nelson and doing that same thing to everybody that he gets wins over in his first initial run to establish it, the hurt lock, He gets it on and he fucking shakes him and they goddamn tap or they pass. And he fucking drops him like a piece of shit, like a fucking German Shepherd drops a fucking play toy. And then finally, when he gets bigger matches, then you get a babyface or two that are in the middle or upper middle that people care about. And when he beats them with the fucking thing and throws them down, he gets his hand up, then he fucking clamps the goddamn thing back on him and starts fucking shaking him again. And the first one gets a neck injury. And he's out for however many weeks. And boy, if you got somebody, there's always somebody that needs neck surgery these days. If you got somebody that needs neck surgery, even the better. Like the guy that could dislocate his own shoulder that used to fly in to do jobs for George Steele when he was using a chicken wing. Then he does the same thing with another fucking halfway decent babyface, and he hurts him too. And then whoever the authority figure is bans the Hurt Lock from competition because he has injured two people. And MVP screams bloody murder and squeals like a pig under a gate about how his man's being discriminated against. His best hold has been taken away from him. And then the only time you see the Hurt Lock is after the match is over with, when he's getting heat on somebody. And then they can't stop him. Oh my God, the match is over. Holy shit, he's got the Hurt Lock. He's injured people with that thing. And he does it after, or he does it behind the referee's back, or he does it in an angle. But he comes up with also something that he can give people a bump with and fucking pin them in a goddamn big match. You've still got your Hurt Lock, but it means more because now he's injured people with it, and it's so dangerous it's been banned from competition. So when he puts it on somebody, the people shit. Would that have been any better than just a motherfucker passing out at WrestleMania?
Well, I figured he was using the full Nelson as a finisher leading into this match. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, he has been, yes, but not at WrestleMania. They just fucking put goddamn Drew McIntyre out with a boring hold at WrestleMania. So what the fuck? And he wasn't. If somebody had given goddamn Drew McIntyre a pile driver before the Hurt Lock, then, oh my God, his bad neck and he's passed out. But he's Drew McIntyre, and he's been beaten for the title at least once since last year, in a challenging position again, and then gets beat with a fucking full Nelson.
The full Nelson didn't bother me, because look at Lashley. You know, he looks like he'll kill you.
Well, yes.
What bothered me more, like you said, was the MVP. I hate to even call it interference. It wasn't interference. It's
distraction.
Just, woohoo, bird over here. I don't know what he did. Then all of a sudden in the middle, he just turns around and gets distracted.
One of Riddle's stray birds was flying around.
I didn't like that. Overall, I thought it was pretty good, not perfect. I was surprised by the finish. I didn't think Lashley was going to come out of WrestleMania still the champion. I have to think most people probably didn't, and I feel bad for Shelton and Cedric, who didn't get a WrestleMania payday because Vince decided to kill that the week before WrestleMania.
And both of the World Championship matches ended with the heel going over at WrestleMania.
What does that tell you about Vince's mindset? You being someone that's worked with him.
Tells me he's changed it. He was the king of sending the people home happy at the big show. And even if every babyface just didn't go over flat, especially during the Hogan era, but usually he wanted, even if the heel had gone over, there was some hope afterwards, right? But they don't care anymore because they don't have to. They're going to sell out the stadium for WrestleMania automatically. And now after people haven't been able to attend live shit, they're even going to be able to sell it out even more automatically. Next year in Texas, full of Republican lunatics that won't wear masks and they'll sell every seat. But they don't have to sell pay-per-view anymore. So if Vince wants to tell the story that these heels are going to go over, then what the fuck? The audience that they're going to get is kind of baked into the cake. They don't have to live. They don't have to sell pay-per-view. They're probably not going to do live events again for who knows how long.
You know, it's interesting. As you're saying this, it hits me that the deal with Peacock is akin to a WCW wrestler getting a guaranteed contract.
Yes.
I could do whatever I want now. I'm getting paid no matter what.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious. They don't have to sell pay-per-views. They ain't going to even try to sell tickets except to the pay-per-views, which will sell anyway because there's so few of events that people can actually now go to. They don't have to they don't have to have ratings week to week. They have to have ratings over time. That will become a problem eventually with a network. They're on guarantees. And so they're going to start getting hangnails, not want to come to work or don't like the creative. So they suddenly remember an elective surgery that they need to have urgently. Just like WCW talent. They're on a guarantee now, baby. You know who's on a guarantee? I'll tell you who's on a guarantee.
Yeah, who?
The people at Paint Your Life. They guarantee that if you don't love how'd you like that segue? If you don't love the final painting that they give you, your money will be refunded.
That's right.
We might as well bring this up now because I'm going to call paintyourlife.com and I'm going to have a portrait painted of Wrestlemania the way it used to be when there was a big match in the ring that you had to sell tickets to because it's getting harder and harder to remember those days. But folks, if you want a truly meaningful gift, a professional hand-painted portrait, a quality gift for yourself, your children, your family, whatever, then you go to paintyourlife.com. They can take any picture, any photograph, or a combination of photographs and make professionally hand-painted portraits out of them that you can choose from a team of world-class artists and work with the details on them. And then within a few weeks, you get your hand-painted portrait, and it's guaranteed. So you can have generations of your family together. You can put yourself in a cherished place, a special place in your memory. Like for me, it might be hanging off the scaffold. Anyway, it makes a great gift, and you can get 20% off from the fine folks at paintyourlife.com. 20% off and free shipping if you text the word DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E, to 64,000. That's DRIVE to 64 with 3 zeros. DRIVE to 64,000. The folks at Paint Your Life will fix you up with this quality hand-painted portrait, and you can celebrate the moments that matter most. Terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms.
I was thinking about getting one of me and a bulldozer chasing Michael Cole.
What about a wood chipper?
Well, I can't drive a wood chipper. I guess you can.
True.
Well, if it's a big one, you can. But
well, if you get one of the big motorized ones, you can. And then, that way you could run him down with the front of it and then throw him in the back of it.
See? 1, 2, 3.